Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Monotui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our GBA Season 8 Week 1 Team Builder. This week we're going up against none other than Joey PokeaimMD of the Bronx Beartics. Now, if you've not done so already, please check out his YouTube link in the description below. I assume if you follow competitive Pokemon, you're already subbed to him, but if for whatever reason you are not, again, his YouTube link will be in the description below, and I highly recommend you guys subscribe to him. This week we are going up against him, as I mentioned, and he does have a pretty scary team, as well as the fact that he is a very good battler. Obviously, he has been playing Standard for a very, very long time, and he has been in several different league seasons, primarily in the UCL, and he has done very well there, I believe winning Championship Season 1 and then making Playoffs Season 2, and then I believe just losing to Hacks or something along those lines. Regardless, he's a very good battler, he's got a very good team to boot, and that is the team that we are going to be getting into right now and should be popping up on screen. So, Joey's team consists of Zygarde 50%, Stakataka, Necrozma, Whimsicott, Mega Gyarados, Heracross, Miltank, Salazzle, Rhydon, Aselgor, and Togedemaru. So, not only is this a team full of names that are very difficult to pronounce and also very fun to pronounce, it's also a very good team synergy-wise. It's a very strong team, and he's got a lot of potential threats going on there. So, like Zygarde 50%, I don't have a very good switch into. I don't believe I have a resist whatsoever, which is a big issue to me. Necrozma is a huge issue. It can be physical special. It's his Z user as well, so that's going to be a very big problem. Mega Gyarados is going to be a very big issue. Heracross, basically everything on his team that can set up is going to be a very big issue to me, because a lot of those things, if they get up one Dragon Dance, or if they get up like 2 Dragon Dances, or a Rock Polish, or a Swords Dance, or something along those lines, I basically lose a Pokemon, and I have to sack something in order to go out into something else in order to revenge kill it, and I don't even have the best answers to revenge kill them. However, I do have my team of 6, and hopefully my team of 6 will be able to take on whatever team of 6 he decides to bring. So, starting off, we are going to go with our Weavile. By the way, I forgot nicknames this week. I'm not going to bother giving them nicknames in this video. My week 2 opponent will be facing up against nicknames and whatnot, but for right now, we're just going with their standard names right now. Week 1, or first up, we got Weavile. Now we're bringing Choice Standard Weavile this week, and I'm starting off with this Pokemon in our team builder just because it's a relatively standard set. Like, there's nothing really crazy about this. Obviously, we have enough speed and Jolly in order to outspeed everything on his team. His fastest member is that Salazzle, and I will be able to outspeed that Salazzle with this Weavile, and I believe knock it out with Banded Knockoff. This is also a very, very big threat to his team in general. He has absolutely no good switch into Dark plus Ice aside from his Mega Gyarados, and even then that is hit super effectively and 2-KO'd by Low Kick. Same thing with Stakataka. I can OHKO that thing with Low Kick because it is very heavy and it's 4 times weak to it, which is very nice. I can 2-KO most variants with Miltank with Low Kick, which is very nice, and even Banded Knockoff is going to do a lot of damage to that, and it'll be losing its item. So that's very nice for me. Obviously, Icicle Crash and Ice Shard threaten the Zygarde, which is very nice. Icicle Crash will be able to OHKO it. Ice Shard will be able to pick it off from a little bit of a lower percentage, which is very nice. Necrozma, again, even though it can take knockoffs because of its ability in Prism Armor and the fact that it'll more than likely be Z, knockoff will still be able to do a lot of damage to it and more than likely to KO it. Obviously, Icicle Crash will be able to knock out the Whimsicott. Ice Shard can pick it off as well, and because of the buff to Dark types in Gen 7, it will not be able to hit me with Prankster, Memento, or Stun Spore, and that's going to be very nice for me. I can go for Ice Shard versus the Heracross and do a decent amount of damage to that thing. Obviously, Icicle Crash can 2-KO the Rhydon, it can knock out the Aselgor, and I can do a lot of damage to the Togedemaru, with pretty much any of my moves. So this is a very big threat versus him. It could potentially sweep late game. It could potentially break through a few things on his team because, again, he does not have good switch-ins to its dual stat plus Low Kick, which is fantastic. Not too much else to say about Weavile. It's just going to do its job, and hopefully it'll be able to do its job very well. Now, unfortunately, some of the things he has on his team can counter it. Like, for example, Zygarde has E-Speed that hits me before I'm able to hit it, which is a bit of an issue. Again, if Mega Gyarados gets up to +1, it outspeeds me and OHKOs me. Heracross is not OHKO'd, and it could be Scarfed and outspeed me anyway. Rhydon is not OHKO'd by Icicle Crash, but regardless, Weavile is there to potentially poke holes in his team, and if I'm able to whittle things down later on, it can potentially sweep. So that's going to be our Weavile. Very useful versus his team. Next up, we have our Gliscor, and we're going to be running somewhat of a standard Gliscor, though typically you see Spadef on these types of variants, and typically you see something like Taunt or Toxic, but Gliscor was a Pokemon that I knew I had to bring for several different members on his team. Like, I need it for Zygarde, I need it for Stakataka, I need it for a potentially physical, what is it called, Necrozma. I need it for even potential, like, offensive Rhydon. I need it to deal with Miltank, for example. Heracross, even if it's a Scarf Heracross, I can be able to deal with it. But the problem is, with Gliscor, is that I wanted to run like 7 different moves. I wanted Earthquake, I wanted Ice Fang, I wanted Stealth Rock, and I wanted Roost, as you can see on screen right there. But I also wanted Protect in order to block a potential Z move from Necrozma. I wanted Taunt in order to be able to stop, like, a setup Gyarados, or a setup Necrozma, or even like a setup Zygarde, something like that. I wanted Toxic in order to wear down potential, like, sub Zygarde, like, I guess outspeed it, hit it with the Toxic, and then its sub doesn't really matter, which is really nice. I wanted friggin' Acrobatics, so that or Aerial Ace, something along those lines, so that I could check a more offensive Heracross. Like, if he is a Guts variant, and he's gonna be SD with Facade, he can OHKO me at +2, so I wanted to be able to hit that thing super effectively, but unfortunately I only get 4 move slots, and these are the 4 that I decided to go with: Earthquake, Ice Fang, Stealth Rock, and Roost. Roost is obviously there for that recovery. I want to be able to continuously switch in on and deal with the Zygarde. Stealth Rock is there because I needed a Stealth Rocker, or I would prefer to have a Stealth Rocker this game. You know, he has several different things that are weak to rocks, and also rocks are just good for chip damage on his team in general. It also hits the Gyarados before Mega Evolving for 25%, which is going to be very, very useful because, again, Gyarados is a very big threat to my team. Hitting the Astelgor, which is nice. If he doesn't lead with it and I get rocks up early, I can potentially break its sash with that thing. Even things like Zygarde, the little bit of chip damage, and I'll get onto that with rocks, is very important. Same thing with Necrozma. Like, if I get up rocks, I'll be able to see if he's a Leftovers variant, potentially with Calm Mind, or if I don't see anything, it'll confirm my suspicions that he is Z. So that's going to be our Gliscor, very important this week. Again, I need those 2 moves there in Earthquake and Ice Fang. I really wanted Taunt, but again, I don't really think I can fit it. Obviously, Ice Fang is there for the Zygarde. Hopefully he's not a Weakness Policy variant. Hopefully he's not a Coil variant, because that'll deal with me very, very well anyway, but I do have some other checks to Coil Zygarde and to Subtoxic Zygarde, which we will get to in a little bit. So there's our Gliscor. Next up, we are going to bring out our Mega Charizard X, which is running Fire Punch, Dragon Claw, Will-O-Wisp, and Roost. And you can see here, this is a little bit of an interesting EV spread, which I will get into a little bit. Fire Punch and Dragon Claw, obviously dual stab is very important, and it does deal with his team relatively well. It hits pretty much the entirety of his team neutral, or super effectively, which is very important. I can deal with the Heracross with this thing. I do have Speed Heracross, can hit it very hard with the Fire Punch. I don't have Flare Blitz because the point of this Charizard actually isn't really to do too much damage. I have enough offense on my team for Joey's team, I think, and even if I were offensive, it would be kind of difficult to fit all the moves that I wanted to, because I would want Roost, I would want Dragon Dance, I would want Will-O-Wisp, I would want Flare Blitz, and I would want Dragon Claw, and I would want Earthquake. But obviously I can't run all of those, so I decided to go with a little bit more of a bulkier Charizard X to kind of support the team and make certain threats on his team not as big of threats. And what I mean by that is, obviously, with Will-O-Wisp, I will be able to cripple certain things on his team. For example, his Rhydon, unless he is running a lot of attack on his Rhydon and his Adamant, he will not be able to 2-KO me with Stone Edge or Earthquake after I have it burnt, which is very nice. Like, if he's a standard tank Rhydon with like 16 attack, EVs, and Adamant, he will not be able to 2-KO me after I'm burnt. Even if he is not burnt, he will not be able to OHKO me with Stone Edge or Earthquake, which is very nice. I'll be able to take on a physically attacking Necrozma, and if I burn that, that's going to be very nice for me. Same thing with the Zygarde. I do outspeed Zygarde, and I can burn it so that 1000 Arrows will not be able to 2-KO me, and he has to set up several different times in order to really do a lot of damage to me, and I can threaten him back with super effective Tough Claws boosted Dragon Claw, which is very nice. Same thing with the Miltank. Like, Miltank typically, unless I'm a Dragon Dance variant, it walls completely, and even if I was Dragon Dance, I'd have to get up to like +3 in order to knock it out with Dragon Claw, and he can always go for a Thunder Wave or a Toxic, so I wouldn't really be able to beat it 1v1. I would rather just hit that thing with a burn and then switch out and deal with it with some of my other Pokemon. And then obviously we have Roost, so that we can potentially switch in on different things, get ourselves back to a decent amount of HP, and have some longevity with this Pokemon. Again, this isn't really meant to break through his team, as Charizard X typically does. It's more to wall certain threats, burn a lot of different threats, which is going to be very important, and roost so that I can gain longevity and stay alive for the future. Will-O-Wisp also, I did not mention this earlier, but it is super important for that Mega Gyarados. If I do land a burn onto that thing, I believe I will be able to live a +2 waterfall, depending on his spread, but regardless, getting a burn on that Mega Gyarados is huge, because obviously it won't have leftovers. It'll be taking 6% per turn, and I will cut that thing's attack in half, which is huge, because that is a giant threat to my team. So that's going to be our Mega Charizard X. Next up, we have our Slowking. And this is a set that I also fiddled with for a little while, and you're going to see a theme with my team. Basically, everything on my team wanted to run 7 or 8 different moves, and I feel like it's going to be similar for him just because of my type synergy and whatnot, but Slowking was something that I wanted so many different moves. I even debated between several different items on this thing, but I decided to go with Assault Vest. We're running Scald, Psyshock, Grass Knot, and Ice Beam. Now, again, with this thing, I did want several other moves. I wanted Hidden Power Electric so that I could hit Gyarados before it Mega Evolves 4 times super effectively, which would have been very nice, or Shockwave if it gets that, somewhere along those lines. I did want something like Thunder Wave or Toxic, but obviously I can't run that with Assault Vest, and I do want to be Assault Vest so that I can check his special threats, like potentially a Necrozma if it is specially attacking, or like Nasty Plot Salazzle I can check with this thing very nicely. Even a Selgor doesn't 2-KO me unless it is potentially Specs or potentially even Life Orb, depending on damage rolls. So there was that, but Scald, Psyshock, Grass Knot, Ice Beam. I really wanted to fit Dragon Tail onto this thing because I could phase out potentially a setup Gyarados, I could phase out potentially a setup Zygarde, I could phase out obviously setup Necrozma. He's got a lot of setup, so Dragon Tail would have been really nice. Obviously the issue with that is if he does decide to run sub on things like Gyarados, things like Zygarde, even something like Necrozma, I will not be able to break it sub with Dragon Tail, and there's no way I'll be able to phase it out. So I opted against that, and I decided to put Ice Beam in that slot instead, because Ice Beam at least allows me to hit Zygarde super effectively and allow me to be able to 2-KO that thing, whereas he, I believe, needs to be up to like +3 in order to knock me out with 1000 arrows, which is very nice. If he's banded, that's a little bit of a different story, but I don't think he'd be banded just based on my team. Like, I feel like he'd want to be set up so he could take advantage of things like Glaceor, be able to set up to +1 so he could outspeed and knock out Weavile and whatnot. So assuming he's set up, this Slowking will be able to deal with it. I can hit it super effectively with the Ice Beam. That will always break its sub, whereas Scald would not always do that. And again, this is just a very good sponge for pretty much everything on his team, bar things like obviously Heracross and Mega Gyarados. I will be able to eat hits from pretty much everything else. I do wall stack attack 100% of the time, which is very nice. He obviously can't be Z, so unless he's going for Banded Stone Edges, I will be able to eat them, and if he is going for Banded Stone Edges, I do have a Keldeo to switch into that, and obviously Stone Edge can miss. I do have Regenerator, so every time I switch, I can get my health back. I also do have Speed Stack Attack. I can hit it super effectively with Scald, potentially get a burn on it, make it so that Stone Edge does not 2-KO Slowking, which is very nice. But regardless, that's going to be our Slowking. It's just basically there to switch into a bunch of different types of hits, and it is there so that I can potentially get some good damage off on other things. Its move pool, or the 4 moves that I'm running it, will hopefully prevent any sort of setup on Joey's end. Grass Knot, after his Gyarados Mega Evolves, will be able to break subs always. Even before he Mega Evolves, they should be able to break a sub, depending on damage rolls, because Gyarados I know is very heavy. Regardless, that's our Slowking. Wish I could fit more stuff on it, but I can't. Next up, however, we are going to move on to our Rotom-Mow. And Rotom-Mow, while I did debate heavily bringing Grassy Z, because obviously this is one of my Z-Mons, and it would have been pretty nice for his team being able to nuke things like Stack Attack, Zygarde, Necrozma, and whatnot, and I didn't have to be choice locked. I essentially looked at it and realized that I kind of needed to be choice scarfed. If Gyarados gets to +1, that's a huge issue for my team. It knocks out Slowking. Pretty much once it gets to +1, assuming it's not burnt, pretty much the only thing that can deal with it at that point is Keldeo, and even then, I don't have recovery on Keldeo. Keldeo is a very big win condition offensively, so I don't want it taking a lot of damage. There's also he doesn't have to Mega Evolve, so if I don't get a Scald Burn with Keldeo, then we're in a bit of trouble, because obviously he doesn't have to Mega Evolve, and I don't have Hidden Power Electric. Spoiler alert on Keldeo, again, something I wanted like 6 moves on, but Scarf Rotom-Mow also allows me to outspeed Choice Scarf Heracross, which is very important. I will also outspeed Necrozma unless he has a Rock Polish or a Totemize up. I believe it gets Rock Polish. I believe it gets both, but assuming it gets like a Rock Polish up, it'll be outspeeding me, but until then I will be outspeeding it, which is very nice. Obviously, I'll be able to outspeed everything on his team that is not Choice Scarf. What is also nice is that if he is running an Adamant Zygarde, I will be able to outspeed that with this Rotom Mow and at +1, and I will be able to click Hidden Power Ice versus it, get somewhere along the lines of like 50% off depending on his EV spread, because Zygarde is ridiculously fat, but obviously if he is running bulky, he won't be able to knock me out with 1,000 arrows very easily. If he is running offensive, HPS will do more, so kind of a compromise there. Those 3 attacks are pretty much all that I need for his team. I don't hit the Whimsicott terribly hard outside of HP Ice, but I don't really need to because I can Volt Switch out versus it and go into something like Charizard or Weavile in order to threaten that out. And then obviously, as you can see there, we have Defog. Now, rocks are a bit of an issue to my team. Obviously, they whittle the Weavile down, and they whittle the Mega Charizard X down. Also, it's kind of annoying for my Gliscor and Slowking to deal with it. Even something like Rotom continuously switching into rocks would be a pretty big issue, so I do have Scarf Defog there. With Joey's team and his nature to set up and cause a lot of problems, I may not have the opportunity to defog because me defogging and obviously me being choice locked into defog may allow him some sort of setup, and I can't allow to do that. But if the opportunity does present itself and he does have hazards up on my side of the field I want to get rid of, then I do have that defog option there. I don't plan on tricking my choice scarf away ever because, again, I need to outspeed that Gyarados at +1 always. I need to make sure that no matter what, I can hit that thing with a super effective Volt Switch or hit it with a Leaf Storm if he is Mega Evolved already. Again, I just have to be Choice Scarfed, and that's pretty much that. Like, again, debated Grassy Z, but Choice Scarf seems a little bit more useful this match when he has fast threats like, or when he has potential setup threats like Zygarde and Mega Gyarados. So that's going to be our Rotom Mow, and now for the final member of our team, we are going to be moving on to Keldeo. So Keldeo here, as you can see, very big offensive win condition for my team. It deals with his team very, very well. Scald, Secret Sword, Icy Wind is basically all the coverage I need for his team, and then we have Toxic. So I have Toxic over HP Electric largely just because if he is some sort of physically defensive Calm Mind, like some sort of physically defensive Calm Mind to attacks Necrozma, then I am pretty much screwed, because even though Slowking can take the hits relatively well, it will not be able to touch him back whatsoever. Again, I don't have Dragon Tail, so I can't phase him out. Scald is not going to be doing anything. A burn on it, if it's bulky, a burn is not going to be all that big of a deal because it's only 6% per turn, and you can recover it off with Moonlight. If he's physically defensive, again, like Weavile is not going to be doing anything with Banded Knockoff because of its ability, as well as the fact that it is very naturally bulky, and the fact that it could be Z, so my knockoff's going to do even less. Gliscor will not be able to do anything to it because, again, it'll be physically defensive and I don't have Taunt. Charizard won't be able to do anything, etc. I don't have Trick on Rotom, so I have Toxic for that reason. I understand that Calm Mind is relatively unlikely, but in the event that he does bring it, I'm going to need Toxic as some sort of a last-ditch effort. Even if he knocks out my Keldeo, it's not the worst thing in the world because I will be sacrificing my big threat for one of his big threats. And what I can do is just Toxic it, and then go out into Slowking and then eat hits forever until it eventually dies to poison. If he does happen to be like Rest, Sleep Talk, one attack, then that's kind of weird and I don't think it would work, but if he's mono attacking Psychic and my Weavile's dead, then that is a big issue, but again, I don't really think he's going to be that. So that's why we have Toxic on Keldeo. And again, Scald, Secret Sword, Icy Wind is all we need coverage-wise for his team. Scald wrecks pretty much everything that is not weak to Secret Sword. Secret Sword wrecks everything that is not weak to Scald and whatnot. And then Icy Wind not only is there to hit things like the Zygarde 4x super effectively, because that is very, very important, but having Icy Wind on this Keldeo will also be able to keep the Gyarados at neutral speed, which is very nice, as long as it is not above +1, my Scarf Rotom will be able to deal with it. So suppose I'm in a situation where Gyarados can set up and potentially beat me, I can spam Icy Wind, keep that thing slowed down. I'll be able to outspeed it on the following turn if he goes for sub, and I'll be able to break its sub with Mystic Water boosted Scald, which is very nice. Or if he's Mega Evolved, I can go for Secret Sword and break its sub. So again, you know, Keldeo, very, very big offensive threat to his team. There's basically nothing that he wants to switch into it. Like, when you look at his team, the best thing that he can switch into this thing would be Whimsicott, and even then, if I hit it with an Icy Wind, I'm doing a lot of damage, and I'll be able to outspeed it on the following turn because of the speed drop. This is just a very, very important offensive threat versus his team, and the 3 moves there plus Toxic are really all I need for the entirety of his team. Like I mentioned, I wanted HP Electric so I could hit Gyarados prior to Mega Evolving. That was a little bit of a trick in Gen 6. when Mega Gyarados was relatively common in OU, but I decided to go with Toxic, and hopefully I don't end up regretting it. But that is going to be the team builder for week 1 of the GBA. Let me know your thoughts on the team in the comment section below, and like I said, do definitely check out Joey's channel in the description below if you have not done so already. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the match.